adjustment, Monday, October 7th, 2024. I hereby declare this meeting of the Howell Township Zoning Board to be open, adequate notice having been given pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act in the following manner. First, on December 11th, 2023, a copy of said notice was mailed to the Asbury Park Press and the Star-Ledger. Second, on December 11th, 2023, a copy of said notice was hand-delivered to the clerk of the Township of Howell. Third, on December 11th, 2023, said notice was posted in the office of the Zoning Board and on the Bulletin Board in the Howell Township Municipal Building, 4567 Route 9, Howell Township, New Jersey. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code and for your safety, please be advised that this facility is designed with 2 emergency exits at the front and the rear of the meeting room. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcasts on Howell Township TV 77. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues of what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and the decorum appropriate to what must be maintained at all times. Thank you.
Thanks, Eileen. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barillo.
Here.
Mr. Cantor is excused tonight. Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Mertens.
Here.
Mr. Roscoe.
Here.
Mr. Stanton is excused tonight. Mr. Ryan.
Present.
Ms. Scottson. Here. And Chairman Say is excused tonight. You have a quorum.
Okay, sounds good. Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Andy, I guess you can swear in our professionals.
Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and nothing?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Charles Cunliffe.
Jennifer Beam.
Professionals are sworn, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Andy. First order of business, approval of minutes. The first one is regular meeting, July 22nd, 2024. Eligible voters, Barillo, Cantor, Hughes, Mertens, Ryan, Scottson, and Saya. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Roll call.
Mr. Barillo.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mertens.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
And Ms. Scottson.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
Okay, the next one is for regular meeting, August 12th, 2024. Eligible voters, Barillo, Hughes, Mertens, Ryan, Scottson, and Saya. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Barillo.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mertens.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
And Ms. Scottson.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
Okay, the last regular meeting minutes to approve is August 26, 2024. Eligible voters, Barillo, Cantor, Hughes, Mertens, Ryan, Scottson, and Saya. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Barillo.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mertens.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
And Ms. Scottson.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
Okay, next order of business, any vouchers?
No vouchers tonight.
Okay, correspondence?
No correspondence for tonight.
Okay. Resolutions, case number BA 2408, Modern Classic Auto Sales LLC. Resolution granting use variance and amendment site plan. Eligible voters is Barillo, Cantor, Hughes, Mertens, Ryan, Scottson, and Saya. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Barillo.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Mertens.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Okay,
And
and,
Ms. Scottson.
Yes.
Sorry, resolution.
okay. Okay, case number BA 23-10F Royalty 19 LLC, resolution granting major site plan approval. Eligible voters, Barillo, Cantor, Hughes, Mertens, Ryan, Scottson, and Saya. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mr. Barillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Mertens?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Scottson?
Yes.
Resolution approved.
Okay, I think we're ready to start. Mr. Pate, are you ready? I want to make sure that, put it on record. Mr. Pate, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. Anyway,
Nice to see you, thank you.
yeah. Anyway, we are told that you would like to switch the cases tonight.
With your permission, Mr. Chair, I would, I'd like, this is a six-member board this evening. The 1805 application is one that I am comfortable proceeding with a six-member board. The Packer-Braun application, perhaps later in the evening, we can have a discussion.
Okay.
We may be able to begin it, but I wouldn't want to take it to a vote with six members. So with your permission, I'd ask if we could begin by presenting 1805 to you.
You know, I have no problem with that. Everybody else is okay. Okay.
So, okay.
Okay, what I'll do is, I'm going to read the case that we're going to have first, which is Case B, which is case number BA 2407-1805 US 9 LLC. This is for a use variance and major site plan. Description, application of 1805 US 9 as applicant and owner is seeking a use variance and preliminary and major site plan. Approval for improvements to existing building, facades, stormwater management system, on-site circulation, lighting, and site improvements on 1805 Route 9, Block 144, and that's Lot 73.01. Expiration is November 27th, 2024. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, board professionals, and public, good evening. Kenneth Pape on behalf of your applicant, 1805 US Highway 9 LLC. This is an application to renovate an existing center. You're going to hear from me and from all the professionals certain comments that I think are very salient. There are existing buildings. There's no new buildings proposed. There's existing buildings are not expanded. We are asking for permission to maintain the existing buildings. There are existing uses. We're not asking for any changes in the uses. We are before you to renovate the property. You're going to hear a new architectural facade for the building. You're going to hear stormwater improvements for the building. You're going to hear circulation improvements for the entire site, lighting, landscaping, removal of encroachments on neighbors' property. It's 100% a clean up the site without any ask for additional building size or uses. We're before you because historically, the multiple uses that are on the property, I think the last one was introduction of a monopole some 20 years ago, vested jurisdiction with this board, so we stay with you. But you'll hear that although Christine Gaffone, our planner, will take us through planner's proofs, you'll hear that we're not asking to expand the uses, change the uses, or expand the building. Before we begin, this is an application that was on the agenda in August and was carried to this evening. We've just confirmed that the board took jurisdiction and the board has jurisdiction for us to proceed this evening.
The board has jurisdiction, Mr. Pape.
Thank you. The application will be presented to the board through 4 professional witnesses. Louis Ugner is alongside me. He is the engineer who designed this facility, who created all the modifications that we offer to the board. Steve Radosti is the architect who has worked to change the facade, to do a new facade on the building. Jay Troutman is a professional engineer with McDonough and Ray. He is John Ray and Scott Kennel's partner. He'll present the traffic. And Christine Cofone is our professional planner. With your permission, Mr. Chair, we're ready to begin. Introducing Mr.
Okay, you don't have, the applicant doesn't need to testify or anything.
The applicant is here. I'm very pleased. Sitting in the second row is the applicant.
He's available if we did want to.
If you wanted to
Okay.
hear from him, and this is going to be an owner-occupied building. It's his intention to use the warehouse for his business.
Okay, that's fine. We'll get everybody sworn in first, and then we'll go from there.
Very fine. So swear in all four professionals?
Yes.
Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
I do.
Please state your names for the record, starting with Mr. Zugner.
Louis Zugner, Z-U-E-G-N-E-R.
Christine Cofone, C-O-F-O-N-E.
Steve Radasti, R-A-D-O-S-T-I.
And Jay Troutman, T-R-O-U-T-M-A-N.
The professionals are sworn, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll ask that before Mr. Zugner begins his testimony, that he share with you his professional and educational background for the record.
Okay, thanks.
Good evening. Again, Louis Zugner, and I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I am a graduate of Virginia Tech with a degree in civil engineering. I've been practicing for around 25 years in the field, and hopefully, as you may recall, I have testified before this
Yeah.
board as well as many others.
We accept your qualifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zugner, before you begin with your substantive presentation, would you identify what exhibits you would like the board to have available?
There are three exhibits which I hope to use, some rather quickly, but there's one labeled overall aerial exhibit, which will give us a quick view of where we are. I'm sure you may know already.
Excellent.
An aerial exhibit where we can see the existing property, and then, of course, the site rendering, which is a colorized version of the plan showing landscaping and other features.
And are you comfortable that the exhibit that's before the board is the one that we should use to begin?
This one is the overall aerial exhibit, and this is the one to begin with.
I think a brief description of the property's location, its size, and its zone, and then we can go into some of the substance.
And this is A24 for the record.
So this aerial exhibit, you can see in a white outline the shape of our property. You can see the two main roads going up and down on this plan is Route 9, and then, of course, West Farm Road. It's property located at that intersection, and as you may know, there's a jug handle at that intersection, which our property wraps around. It's a little bit of reference. Across the street is the Home Depot. I'm sure you're all familiar with the area. The existing site here, we are in the highway development HD1 zone, and that property you see in white outlined is 5.35 acres existing property. Then maybe if we could switch to the aerial exhibit.
That's
Great.
A23.
Thank you.
So again, this is pretty much the same thing. We've now zoomed in. You can see the two same roads, Route 9 and West Farms. And a little bit here to see is, again, it wraps around the jug handle. And what I'd like to refer to as the actual Route 9 frontage is around 350 feet. That's not a specific dimension in the property, other than visually you can see that's our real frontage, since the jug handle doesn't help us in terms of frontage. You can see also that there's significant woods in and along that jug handle, which obscure or shield the property visually. Those are there now. I think also what you can see in this picture, and as we go through the presentation, all of the buildings are presently there. This is a developed site. The way I would describe it is this is not a bad site. It's a site that's just in need of some attention and an update. So what you'll see there, you'll see in the rendering, just cleaned up.
So before you move on, what do you mean by the jug handle doesn't help us with frontage? That's frontage.
I meant euphemistically, right? We don't have access. We're not going to take
From an
access.
access point of view.
Right.
Okay, I just didn't understand what you were talking about with that.
Yep, absolutely.
Ready for the third exhibit?
I'm ready to go to the third one.
Okay.
rendering or this is
Site rendering,
that one right
please.
there, sure.
821.
Perhaps a description of existing conditions on site, existing uses on site?
Sure, so now you can see it, again, we're in a colorized version, but these, in a light gray color, these are the existing unchanged buildings. Those are the buildings that exist. And a little bit about those buildings, there's a number of uses there, also not changing, but to describe them. Furthest left, there's a narrow section of the building. This is a 4-bay car wash. Then immediately to the right of that, this is a 1-story retail space. And these buildings are all connected, but they're separate uses. And then forming sort of an upside-down L, and that piece is a commercial space in the building. And then the separate building to the right, that's also commercial, similar to like a flex-style space is the way that's used. And then in between those two buildings fenced in is a monopole cell tower. This is in a lease area, which we don't actually have control of, but was previously approved.
Okay.
You know, again, I talked about this before, when we start on a site like this, we sort of like to have an objective or where we're going. Here, very simple, same buildings, but let's clean up the site and make some specific improvements. So, of course, landscaping and lighting improvements I'll talk about. Those are updated throughout the site. We introduce stormwater facilities into this site, and you can see those on the top left in a little bit of a darker green, and then in the bottom right-hand portion of the site. These didn't exist previously. Probably most significantly, we took some steps to improve circulation. And previously, the road that goes along the top was circulation to the back of the right building, but it was a dead-end circulation. It ended at a cul-de-sac or a tight turnaround. This now has circulation completely around the building. And this is not just helpful to truck traffic, it actually is a big safety improvement for the site to provide for that total circulation, and was something we discussed with the fire chief. There is some element here in the site where we add and better define parking throughout the site. It was a little bit unclear where vehicles parked in the past. We make it clear through striping and do add a few defined spaces. I would also note we respect the environmental constraints here. There's an LOI in progress. There's a small isolated pocket of wetlands towards Route 9, which we do not touch. And then the trees and the screening I talked about along the jug handle, we make every effort to preserve that, so we still have that screening from visibility.
Okay.
Before you proceed, if it would appear that there's aesthetic improvements, it appears that there's environmental protection improvements, and that there's safety improvements, all that are being added to the site through your design.
That is correct.
If you would continue.
Certainly. So to run through a few of the specifics in terms of the plan here, the grading on this site generally runs from the front to the back towards Route 9. Obviously, there's not a change to that. The drainage, we are constructing these two basins. They are both small-scale infiltration basins. I showed you where they were. They discharge to an existing channel and into the wetlands.
Are there any on there now? There's none.
There's no stormwater.
Okay, so you're actually, okay, thanks.
Correct.
And to give the board additional clarity on it, so the project actually isn't a major development, so there's no requirement for them to provide stormwater management. We did have a TRC meeting, I think, or a concept plan meeting before this application was filed, and said, you know, anything that can be added would be a benefit for the application, and the applicant has proposed that. They're not required to, but
Okay.
it's something that's definitely a positive.
Okay, that's good to know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit, but of course, circulation, where we created this loop and eliminated the dead end. One of the things we were able to do is provide for that truck circulation around the back. There is one section of one-way traffic as you come around the building near the basin, but it is wide enough to satisfy emergency access needs. There's a little bit in terms of road dimensions and widening, which your engineers asked for, which we're going to accommodate. There were a few comments from the fire chief, which we're going to make sure we address all of those. In terms of the parking for the site, it does require relief, but we are actually adding spaces to the site. There'll be more defined spaces. There'll be 63 parking spaces. This includes 6 new spaces on the site. There will be 2 EV spaces on the site, which didn't exist before. We will also stripe and identify 3 handicap spaces.
And how many spaces are required?
I know that Ms. Capone is ready on that one, but I don't remember.
I have it here. Let's see.
I think it was 105 spaces.
I knew it was about 100 spaces in total. I know that we need variance relief. We added 6, but we still need variance relief.
Okay.
We believe that there's adequate stacking spaces for the car wash. You can see we restriped the parking area behind the car wash to create actual path in there with stacking spaces. The car wash loads from the back and they come out towards the front. We created in an area that was previously the very bottom right-hand side, the turnaround behind the old building. And because there was excess existing pavement there, and it was a useful use in this plan to create some oversized spaces. So some of the larger trucks that might come into a commercial facility, they would have oversized parking spaces there. Thought that was appropriate use of that location.
And that's in the southwest corner, I believe.
That is correct.
Okay.
And I would also note, you can see to the left of the L-shaped building, sort of a dotted light-colored area and some striping. There was a truck loading space to that building at that location. It was in poor condition. This plan rebuilds it and creates 2 loading spaces into that building and provides sufficient space for a truck to come in and then back down into those spaces. I would note that there are, this has come up on other applications, parking spaces that come right up to the retail building, the section of building facing towards Route 9, and we are proposing to add bollards along that retail building for those parking spaces.
I have a couple of I know Shari isn't here this evening. I happened to have a early morning meeting with Shari in another town, and she shared with me that she wouldn't be able to make it. We've been working with Shari on the landscaping plan for a number of months. Lewis and members of his firm have been working with her. I'm comfortable advising you that we are in full agreement with the few recommendations that she's made that we have not yet added to the plan. And the notable one was that we have area between the 2 buildings. We would add a picnic table seating area between those buildings for employees. She'd asked that we have that as an element.
Yeah.
Easy to say yes. And then she also had some specific requests with landscaping that she wanted us to address. Also, there was a discussion as to whether or not we would be needing, we would have a need to put funds into the tree replacement fund. And if you could speak to that, it's my understanding that Shari has advised us that we have more going in than we're taking out, and we won't need to make any.
Yeah, it's good to hear that.
Right, and
Usually
there
it's
was
the
a
other way
woodland-
around.
And there was a woodlands management plan
That was
submitted.
submitted to her. The board should be aware, I think, that we would never come before you without 3 stops in town before. We spent time with Shari to make certain that we had her concurrence. We went to the Environmental Commission. We actually went to them on 2 separate occasions. It's our understanding they have no further outstanding requests. And we met with 2 fire chiefs. We started long enough ago that there was Chief Lewis, and we've then met with Chief Prochnow, who specifically reviewed the plan that you see here and who advised us that it was satisfactory to him.
So, Mr. Mertens, what I would suggest with regard to Shari, since she's not here, is that, like, Charlie and I are not privy to these conversations that she's having with the applicant, like,
Yes.
you know, and that if the board were to act in the affirmative, it'd be conditioned upon her sign off on this issue.
I
Because
agree.
we don't have anything
Okay.
from her. I mean, I'm not surprised considering it's a developed site, but at the end of the day,
No, I totally agree with you.
without her being here to agree, we need something
Yeah.
in the resolution that would require that.
So, Mrs. Pate, I guess,
Appropriate, and we're in full agreement.
okay, good.
This property is currently on a septic system. This property is not going to remain on a septic system. In addition to the other improvements that are offered, the applicant is going to remove the septic system and tie it into the sanitary sewer system.
That is correct, that we will be able to connect to sanitary sewer.
And we
Okay.
filed applications for preliminary water and sewer with the Howell Township Municipal Utility Department, and those are pending. There's, as Mr. Zogner indicated a few minutes ago, the wetlands on the property were delineated, and it's actually December 2023, we filed the application with the DEP requesting confirmation of the wetlands. It's not hard to figure out where they are. They're in the trees up in the
Yeah.
front of the property, but we're doing a wetland delineation, and we'll put a conservation easement over the wetlands and any buffers that are associated with them. Is there anything further from your perspective that should be placed before the board?
The only thing I can think to say is that, of course, we'd continue to work with the professionals and make sure we satisfy any of their open concerns.
We have the staff reports, and to the extent that there are any staff comments that have not yet been addressed, we can and will address it, if you could confirm that.
Yes.
Is someone going to talk about signage?
I was going to do the signage with Steve. Mr. Agosti has designed.
Yeah, okay, 'cause I was-
replacement sign. And
Okay.
Then there's variance relief for signage too, and that would be through the plan.
Okay.
But yes, we will be discussing signage.
Charlie, any comments, questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Zugner, you've reviewed my latest report, and you are confident you can address all the outstanding stormwater comments that are in there?
I am, yes.
Okay. Couple notes. I know Jen alluded to that there's a variance required for the parking. The requirement is 105 spaces. I think they have 2 EV spaces, so with the credit, it's 103, and they're proposing 63 spaces. So, we'll need to hear, obviously, justification for that relief. I know there is, right now, you talked about how the site is providing now 360-degree circulation around the entirety of all the buildings. Previously, there was a cul-de-sac dead end at the southwest corner, and it looked like from aerials that was kind of just being utilized as a makeshift parking area. That's now defined parking, and then we're going to have striped fire lanes throughout the site, so there's not going to be parking kind of how it was before?
That's correct, to maintain the access and circulation around the building and provide a specific spot for any oversized vehicles.
So, and the one recommendation I would have for the board, and it's not something atypical for us, to require the applicant to accept Title 39 jurisdiction on this site, especially since they're deficient with parking. That just allows the town the ability to go in and enforce traffic tickets if people are parking all over fire lanes and things like that. I think that's something we
I
should.
agree.
So we talked about the septic's going to be abandoned, it's going to hook up to the public sewer in Route 9. You're also proposing new water to Route 9 as well, Mr. Zugner, correct?
That is correct.
Is there any anticipation for like a hot box enclosure in the front yard area, or any kind of tanks for fire suppression purposes or anything like that?
So I don't expect either to be necessary. I have completed the approval for the connection. There'd be no need for any type of tank or fire suppression system. And I don't think the length is going to require us to have a hot box, but I will have to get through permitting with the.
Okay, so what I would just present to the board is, it's not atypical for applications on Route 9 for the water company to require like a hot box enclosure. It's giant silver box in the front yard area. I would say if the board does not take issue with the use in the application, we proactively grant that relief on the condition that they provide adequate screening subject to the review and approval of LT, so they don't have to come back to the board for, accessory structure in the front yard. That's usually mandated by the water company, and it's a certain, it has to be within a certain distance of the right of way. Your traffic engineer is going to talk about circulation and the types of vehicles and maximum size and all that?
I think we'll ask that he come up next, and yes.
Okay. The car wash that's there, does that have its own recirculation system where any effluent is captured and recirculated, or does that freely run into the parking area and the stormwater systems on the site?
There is below the car wash, there is a large open tank that no one has really been able to figure out what's going on. So the answer is we propose to abandon that and tie it into the sanitary sewer system.
Okay. So any effluent's going to be captured and tied in this septic sewer, not running into the stormwater basins?
Correct.
Okay.
Sanitary.
Need a waiver for lighting.
Yeah, so they do need a waiver for lighting, I think, in exceeding the minimum intensity. That's not something that's atypical for this board to grant. I would just ask that everything be downward facing, house side shields, and then maximum color temperature of 3,000 Kelvin. Is that acceptable? Unless, I know Sherry has allowed 4,000 Kelvin. I would say that's the maximum that we would go. Do you have any issue with that?
Either one, as you direct.
Okay.
3,000 or 4,000 works, just the color.
All right. I don't have anything more for Mr. Zugner
Okay.
at this time.
Jennifer, any comments or questions?
I'm assuming that Mr. Adasti is going to talk, who's going to talk about the streetscape design waivers with respect to like site furnishings, private walkways, sidewalk, et cetera?
The street furniture, we've offered to place the street furniture between the two buildings. I put that on the record, and then the bollards across the front of the building. I can do the sidewalk. There is no sidewalk in the area. We can add sidewalk if so directed. We would respectfully ask that you
Yeah, I
consider a
think
fund-
that's going to...
I mean, respectfully,
Yeah.
you should put sidewalk on Route 9. Every single applicant that has come in on Route 9 has put sidewalk. New Jersey Transit
Get in there.
runs up and down Route 9. There's people walking on the regular, up and down. There's no justification for not putting the sidewalk on Route 9.
Then we
On the
will-
jug handle, I totally understand that. That makes no sense.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, I also feel that the town asked an applicant for a major affordable housing application further down West Farms Road, not that far, to put sidewalk on West Farms Road. So honestly, the jug handle, I understand, but whatever frontage you have on West Farms and Route 9, I recommend you should put curb and sidewalk.
yeah, I think we're all absolutely concur.
How does that work out?
Are you gonna have any operational testimony? Or are you just saying the operations will remain as is?
We can describe what's there, but there's, all of the operations that are there have
Well,
been...
who's we? Who's going to describe the operation? You or...
You comfortable doing it? I'll lead you. I'll
Okay.
take you through it. But West Palms Road frontage, do we have West Palms Road frontage?
I'm not sure. It kind of cuts off, but it looks like,
Yeah, I wouldn't really think there's a location for us to do sidewalk on West Farms. I don't think we have frontage out there, but
well, I mean, your plans are not showing all of it, all the way to the end of the property line, so
You-
I'm looking
There
at the
you go.
plan.
Yeah.
It kind of
Yeah.
cuts off halfway,
yeah,
like,
There.
You at least have it on the jug handle there.
we do have it on the jug handle.
but, so, your plans kind of, if it's on the jug handle, I don't take any exception to them contributing to the fund for that stretch of sidewalk, because technically, that's still a public right-of-way, and they would have to provide it. I don't think I would recommend people walking along that jug handle. It doesn't really serve a purpose, but if you guys feel that you want it, that's perfectly within your rights to ask for it. I do think Route 9, we've been very consistent
Absolutely.
about getting sidewalk on Route 9.
How far is the nearest residential's from this on West Farms going east?
Not far.
Not far? Okay. How does the board feel about that? as far as,
I think Route 9 is,
yeah, I know we're all agreeable. We're talking about around the jug handle as far as, it doesn't look like there's any existing sidewalks going towards Route 9 from the first residential.
There isn't, so right now,
It
West
really,
Farms Road does not have a full shoulder, it doesn't have sidewalk at all.
yeah, I think in this situation, I don't see a reason for it. I'm more concerned about Route 9,
Done
and I think that's our consensus.
as you direct. As far as the uses, as Mr. Zugner described, the front building is a retail building. Currently, there's only one active tenant that is in there. It is a T-shirt printing company. The balance of the property is currently vacant. Some of it needs to be restored. It is intended that there'll be an office element associated with the warehouse in that front building. The car wash has been described. The building that makes the back of the L is an industrial building. It's an existing industrial building. Our client intends to use it as a storage building for his business. The building that is to the right has an interesting collection of tenants. There's a recording studio. There's a party distribution company. They have party favors and chairs and tables and tents. There's a gentleman who repairs cars and adds and does tire service. I think and there's a vacant space. Those are all existing.
But they're all existing, and they have current leases with,
They all have leases, and I've been to the site with Mr. Matt Howard a number of times before our clients purchased the property to make certain that all of those uses were properly CO'd.
So the question that I have then is, when I'm looking at your site plan, it says commercial building, commercial building, commercial building. But you're saying it's industrial and warehousing, so listen, I get it's existing, but like, I'm just questioning, I didn't label your plans. You said commercial, commercial, commercial. Warehouse is not commercial, it's industrial. So where is the industrial use?
The back of the L is a storage building. It always has been, and it's proposed to remain a storage building.
So then I would request that the plans be revised to be reflective of actually what's there.
You got it. We'll
Yeah.
label it as storage. And the storage building will be connected to an office element. The office element will be in the front building.
okay, board members, any questions for this professional, for Lou?
I have one.
What, Mike?
Jennifer, does it require a trash enclosure on this property?
They definitely require trash enclosure.
We have two proposed trash closures that will be masonry enclosed.
But are they on this plan, or are they?
They are on the
Okay.
plan.
Okay, yeah, because I can see one of them,
Back in the corner?
yeah.
So there's one that will be, you can see it obviously angled on the top as you circle behind the buildings. There'll be another one sort of inside the L of the buildings.
And the septic system, Mr. Zugner, that's being taken out, where is that located currently?
The current septic system is between the buildings
In the light green area?
in the light green area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pate, your professionals will be around, because I would think it'd be better to move along, and we can have public comments for each of your professionals at the conclusion of the testimony.
Is that, Mr. Murphy?
Is
Thank
that
you.
good with everybody? Okay.
I do have a question.
Before
Okay,
Mr. Zugner leaves, Mr. Pape, can you clarify on the back end of the building on the right, if there's a current tenant there? I'm showing an open application for a CCO for a furniture company that's never been closed out. I believe there were violations regarding that furniture company prior to the sale of the property. DMV Furniture, to be more specific?
Gone,
Gone?
gone.
So that means you have 5 different tenants with a proposed possible office component that's going to go in the L-shaped portion, plus a vacant portion of the second building to the far right, with only 2 garbage enclosures. I'll be quite honest with you, I've been on this property several times, issued several violations for property maintenance issues, as the tenants and the facilities that are there are not sufficient for the amount of garbage that's produced. Is there any way that we can get more garbage enclosures squeezed in somewhere? Because it sounds like you're going to be, the owner's going to be expanding at some point, and if you can't keep up with it now with additional tenants?
Yeah,
So the simple answer is yes, I can find another location. I also don't believe, I know the exact pickup schedule at the moment, so there could also be adjustments to the frequency of pickup. But
I would prefer more enclosures, as that hardly ever seems to remedy, as landlords place the responsibility on tenants. Tenants complain that the landlords don't take care of it, and that open space in the back of the property that's cleared, that's been the space where garbage has been dumped and dumpsters have been placed in the past, littering the woods behind the area. So I'm not confident, and not to say anything about this current owner, but in the past, this has been an issue on this property.
I can envision a third location towards the southwest corner of the property where I could find space for a third trash enclosure.
Thank you.
The comments of John are understood. Our client purchased this property during this past year, and our client is the one that's coming before you and asking you for permission to do all of these renovations.
okay, well, I think the third enclosure should be stipulated.
So stipulated. Southwest corner, there'll be a third masonry enclosure.
Okay, Mr. Barillo?
Yeah, the building on the right, is that considered warehouse space?
There is a tire store, there is a party store, there is a studio, a recording studio. I think those are the tenants that are in there now.
The storage is in the L-shaped building.
The storage is in the L-shaped building.
Yeah.
The back of the L is the storage building,
Yeah,
All
so
right,
the
but
north,
we're not classifying this as warehousing?
not that building.
Well, that's kind of what I asked, because the plans just say commercial, and warehousing is
No, I was just reading
industrial.
off your report, and it said the existing building consists of 7,316 square feet of warehousing.
Well, because we went through all the documentation, but what you're seeing here is it's labeled as commercial, but it's basically the back half of that, or a good chunk of that L-shaped building is where the storage would be, and I think Mr. Pape, and I don't mean to speak for you, indicated that it's storage. That's the kind of quote-unquote warehousing that we're talking about, is storage, not fulfillment, distribution, high-volume traffic, et cetera, correct?
That's correct.
So will we have something in the, if the application is approved, in the resolution that none of these buildings cannot be used as
Well,
warehousing
that
or flex
building
warehousing?
That building is existing to be used as it, so it's an existing condition. I would say we could recommend that there be no expansion of that area on this site. Is that fair, Mr. Pape?
Sure, there's no expansion proposed, none intended. What you see is what we like to work with.
I guess so, I guess my point was, if tenants move out, can we put a restriction on that none of the space will be used as a flex warehouse?
Andy, I guess that's your...
We would continue to use it for these small business operations. How varied can you be with a party store?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like warehousing, a party store, music studio, I'm just saying if hands were to change and to be different tenants, should the resolution say something to the effect that it's not to be used for flex warehousing?
So, Mr. Pape, you're comfortable with like a reference in the resolution to the existing tenants, and then they would be of a similar type and use or something?
I think that we want to put enough language in that John and Matt don't have trouble interpreting applications from tenants, but we can, yes, similar uses, it's not intended to be, that building's not intended to be an industrial building.
so I think it would be beneficial for that use to maybe hear from the applicant on how they currently operate from and how they intend to operate from that commercial use. To give the board some context, right, it's 8,300 square feet, so we're not talking about like 75,000 square feet of flex warehouse. So it's a smaller space, but nevertheless, they are improving the loading dock, and they do have a circulation for a WB 62, so maybe what kind of storage operations they operate out of that might be helpful, just to give the board some clarity, and how frequent a WB 62 may actually be coming in and out of this site here. I can't imagine that it's a small space. I can't imagine that there's a lot of turnover, and they're storing a lot of goods in such a small space. So maybe that might help kind of going forward for like changes of use or change of tenant, to get that on the record. Two other comments that I just want to make before we move on is with the party, and then also with the tire use. Will the applicant agree to a condition, no outside storage of like used tires or anything like that? And then also with the party use, no outside storage of any equipment or materials?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are reasonable requests.
Okay, and then the last question is for Mr. Zugner, is looking at aerials, the pavement condition is in not the greatest shape, and there is a significant amount of like trench work with the stormwater and then also with the utilities. Would the applicant be amenable to like resurfacing the parking lot?
So I think if it's possible, I know there's some areas that are getting redone in different ways. If we could maybe walk the site together and identify what areas might be sufficient and in good condition and what areas are not.
I'll make it.
I mean, I'd say no. Like, you're here for a use variance. The parking lot is not in the greatest condition. They should resurface the parking lot, period. Like, we're not gonna patch this up. Patching never
No,
works. So you're here asking for us for relief. I don't think resurfacing the parking lot is that heavy of a lift, and so I would say no. You should resurface the parking lot.
We had discussed it previously. I thought that we had agreed that we would walk the entire site. Most of it needs to be restored, but there are sections towards the rear that I think are in good shape. We'll defer to you, but I think that the front parking lots, the front driveways, the circulation behind the building, behind the retail building, all of that must be redone. But as we work around the back, the surfaces are not in bad shape, and I ask that we take a look at them with Charlie.
Well, who's going to be?
I would respectfully disagree with that. As a condition of approval, I would recommend that the parking lot be resurfaced in its entirety, period. Like, we're not gonna nickel and dime this, enough is enough. This site, and I understand your client recently purchased it, so this has nothing to do with your client, but this site is in deplorable condition. And it needs to be upgraded, which I understand that's why you're here, and I'm happy that you're here. But we're not gonna reface the entire center and then patchwork the parking lot. Like, no. So my recommendation to the board, it's up to you guys, is that the parking lot be resurfaced in its entirety, and we're not gonna walk it and patchwork it. Like, that's ridiculous.
Board members?
Agreed.
Yeah, Mr. Pate, I think that's where we're at, and I concur with our planner.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I do have one more question for Mr. Pape. You said your client is going to be using the storage area for his storage uses. Currently, is there a restriction on like hazardous materials or stuff like that?
Because there was a question from Charlie wanting to know how our client uses that building or intends to use that building, I was going to ask for a 2-minute recess just so I could speak to him before I bring him up here, so he doesn't, and I'll have him describe his business. I think you'll find his business to be benign and a nice business to introduce into that building.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you'd like to have 2 minutes, and
2 to 3.
we'll make it 5. We'll take a 5-minute break. Eileen?
The board will now take a 5-minute break and reconvene at 7:55 PM. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Mr. Pate, are you,
We're ready.
okay. Eileen, we're back.
The meeting will now reconvene.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, things we've discussed already, the applicant's application is amended to incorporate the recommendations of a Title 39 designation on the property, a resurfacing of the asphalt surfaces on site, and the installation of sidewalk along Highway 9, all as requested. Mr. Yakov Jacobs is here. He is one of the principals, and he is the gentleman who intends to use that industrial portion of the property for his business. With your permission, I'll ask Mr. Zugner to take a back seat and bring Mr. Jacobs up here, and we'll have him sworn, and then he'll describe his business and what he would like to do there.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we need you to be sworn in first. Andy?
And if you could affirm,
You affirm that the testimony you'll give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Affirm.
State your name for the record, spell
Jacob
your last.
Jacobs, Jacobs.
The witness is sworn, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
and
Good evening.
Hi.
Mr. Jacobs, you're one of the principals of the company that purchased this property?
Yes.
And you've shared with me, it's your intention to use the storage building for your business?
Yes.
And if you could describe to the board the products that you intend to store in that building?
Yeah, so we wholesale electronics, vitamins, and supplements, and we plan on storing it there. It's all wholesale, so we get stuff in big lots, and we ship them out on pallets.
And the number of trucks that would come to the site on a daily basis, you shared with us that you own 2 trucks, your company owns 2 trucks. It would be only your trucks that come to the site?
Basically, besides for UPS, FedEx, and then once a week, approximately, we'll have a shipment going out. It could be we're not in control of what type of truck that would be, and then once in a while, a truck would come from a third party, doing a delivery, not UPS or FedEx.
And you had indicated that you anticipated,
You're going to have to go back, because that was not clear at all.
I'm going to go through it. You own 2 trucks. 2 truck movements a day takes place every day from your warehouse.
Pretty much, yeah.
And once a week, you have a third-party delivery, and that could be a tractor trailer.
Yeah.
So 1 tractor trailer trip a week, 2 trucks every single day.
Pretty much.
What kind of truck?
We have a van, a cargo van, and a 24-foot truck.
And you're not looking to rent out this space? This is space that you intend to use for your business as you've just described it to the board.
Yes.
That is the intended use of the storage building.
Okay, Jennifer?
I mean, so what time does this tractor trailer arrive? And so you have 2 trucks. Let me just go back. So you have 2 trucks. You're not getting deliveries in your 2 trucks, right? That's more shipping out?
No, so we have another warehouse in Delaware where we transfer daily from Delaware to Jersey and Jersey to Delaware. That we do ourselves. So that's what we use our own trucks for. We either use the van or the truck. That we usually do every single day, Monday through Thursday. And then we get deliveries from other companies, which could be, most times it's a 24-foot truck, but it could be a tractor trailer, very, very rarely. But
And
there
how
will
many,
be-
and that's a once per week?
It could be twice a week, 4 times a month.
Okay,
like
so
that.
initially it said 1 time per week, but now you're saying could be twice a week. Like, I'm not trying
No.
to trick you up, I'm just trying to understand how the site is going to
very-
actually work.
It's very rare.
So if it comes more than 1 time per week, say it comes more than 1 time per week, because what will happen is you're going to get conditions associated with this approval, and if someone sees the truck showing up more than once a week, you're going to get in trouble. So just be honest with how many times it shows up, and we can ascertain how this functions.
Could it be twice a week?
Yeah, it could be 4 times a week, but it's not every day of the month. Meaning it's max 4 or 5 times a month that we'll get a delivery or a truck coming out.
So,
Well, is it 4 to 5 per week or 4 to 5 per month?
Per month, because we never,
Okay.
you just said
I don't
4
wanna-
times per week, like,
No, he
Yeah,
said not
that's
to.
what I was,
exactly, yeah.
no, but he said, could be 1 time a week, could be 2 times a week, could be 4 times a week. Is that what he just said?
Rock solid.
So, therein lies the concern. We need to understand, as does your professional team, the impact, the potential impact associated. I'm not saying it's a negative impact, but they need to understand what they need to testify to in terms of the tractor-trailer activity on the site. So if it's 4 times a week maximum, then you should say that, because it will become a condition. If it's 5 times a week, you should say that. But if you say 1, you're going to be limited to 1.
So if you would like to share with the board what the limits that, so currently you're experiencing 4 or 5 a month. But you'd like limits that are greater than that, so
Right.
you could grow.
Right.
What would be a number that you'd be comfortable growing to on a monthly basis, tractor-trailer movements?
I would like to have it every day.
So can I understand, when you're saying growing, this is an existing business in this existing space. So growing how? Like you basically said to us, we're just spiffing up the site, the uses are going to remain as is. So like, when then you said, what do we want it to grow to? Like, the warehouse portion of this application is not permitted. So we need to understand, are you anticipating this use growing at this location or staying as is with its current operation and just improving the site around it? Or are you anticipating this use to grow? Because there are impacts associated with that growth that we need to evaluate in a variance application.
The area of the site that has this building is the only area where Mr. Jacobs' business will be conducted. There's no request to expand that, but it is a vibrant business that Mr. Jacobs owns, and growth could occur in his business. He could have more activity than he has now, and I've just asked him, what is the maximum number of truck movements that he anticipates could take place? And you indicated 1 per day, one
Yeah.
tractor trailer per day?
That's the most it could be, but
So to be on the safe side, that is the request.
Okay.
But there's no expansion of the business portion of the building. It's what you see is,
No, there's no expansion of the square footage, but if you ask for the business to grow, that's an expansion of the business, correct?
I don't know that, I mean, everybody who goes into business hopes that the business becomes more vibrant and there's growth.
I think what
But
she's
that's the
saying,
honest
though,
part.
is within that confines of the building, you're limited to your growth. So if you're going to expand beyond what that building is enabled to do.
Absolutely not. We will
Okay.
not grow beyond the building. We will not
That
grow
portion
beyond
of the
the building.
That portion of the
We
building.
will not grow beyond that portion of the building.
Well, how about if you end the leases for that other building, will your client want to use that space? If the music guy were to move, would he use that space to make for storage?
Earlier, you asked what that building would be, and we agreed that that building would be the uses that are there or similar uses. We would carefully
Okay.
describe it so that your zoning officers could enforce it.
Okay.
If you'd confirm that you have no intentions, and you're not asking this board to move your business into any other part of the site.
no, we want to keep that as tenant, just renting them out.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chair, so, and, this might be also for the applicant's traffic engineer, so I'm a little concerned with tractor trailers once a day. They have a circulation plan that they provided, and the WB 62s exiting the site driveway have to make a significant, like, swooping movement, almost like to the center divider. If we're talking about once or twice a week, and they're coordinating when those deliveries happen, and it's like off rush hour peak or like later in the evenings, then, maybe it's less impactful to Route 9, but like once a day, that's kind of a lot, so maybe we'll.
Yeah, and also I need on the traffic engineer, because I'm looking at the back of this building, and that's going to be like a jackknife getting into that spot with a tractor trailer. I mean, is that sufficient amount of space?
There's a turning template that has been prepared that'll be presented to you when
Okay.
Jay is up. Yeah. Is there anything further of Mr. Jacobs?
Professionals, board members?
I have a question. So, not to beat a dead horse, so the testimony was that there was going to be no expansion. I'm showing in my system an application for the demolition of interior walls. Would your client be able to expand on what interior walls? That application, by the way, just for the record, has failed plan review. I don't have access to the actual plan, so can you elaborate on what walls are being torn down and for what reason?
It's going to be used for office space and kitchenette, bathrooms, just regular office space for the sales team.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
He said office space and a kitchen room for his sales team would be part of the building,
For which operation?
for his business operation.
So you're adding to that business then?
No, we had indicated that in the front building, there is the retail building, there's one portion of that that is going to be renovated for the office associated with this warehouse. Kind of right there, right, in the front building, right
This area?
there. The corner, the part that's falling, that it's rotting and falling in right now. That would be renovated. You can see that it is attached to the warehouse, and it would be the office area for Mr. Jacobs' business.
Okay, but that's where the work that John's talking about is taking place, in that spot, or is it in the other part?
Mr. Jacobs, is there any other demolition that you've made application for?
I don't think so. Maybe
You don't think so?
there might be some junk in the warehouse, but
He's indicated there might be some junk in the warehouse that is being taken down.
So this is the retail space we're talking about that faces Route 9, fronts Route 9?
I can't spin the, just so you know, I can't spin it enough because the trees get in the way, so that you can see.
No, it was a,
But I believe this is the area that we're speaking about,
Yeah,
correct?
that-
Where the pointer
that-
is?
yeah.
and is that one of the retail spaces?
Yes.
the retail is not along the storage part. That's retail, and everything along the storage is going to be office.
And what is there right now in the retail space?
There's a T-shirt print shop, and the portion that we're talking about right now was an office, and it's just rotting and falling into the ground.
Right, so right now, it's already divided into four? Four
No, there's
retail
divided-
spaces?
There's one retail space, and then the rest is just vacant, falling apart. It was offices, it looked like it was offices before.
So you're going to be taking some of that retail space and making it office
No, the
space?
retail is going to stay. Where the retail ends there's a wall, like where the storage starts.
That straight line.
Right, that line from there and on is basically office space right now.
It's empty, it's dilapidated, it's rotting, it's caving in, but it was office space.
Now, is the architect going to just show us the outside appearance, or will he have any kind of design on what's going inside the building with his plans?
He's got the floor plans.
He does have floor?
He does,
Okay.
yes.
Now, will that show what we're discussing right now?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, the plans that I have don't show the walls coming down,
Well, that's,
so I don't know what that application is.
When Mr. Radasi's up, we'll show you the layout that was proposed for that space.
And just to clarify, the products that are being stored again are supplements and electronics?
Yeah, small electronics like Apple Watches, iPads, MacBooks, and supplements, vitamins.
Are they being repackaged in any which way or form, or are they being shipped out in the same manner that they are received?
Same manner they're received.
And if you could confirm strictly wholesale,
Yeah, just
no
wholesale.
no fulfillment.
We don't do any fulfillment. We do everything wholesale. Comes in on pallets and goes out on pallets.
But, wait a minute. Okay. You said this was storage. Now it's distribution. Like, honestly, I feel like we're just changing the narrative as we go through this application. I have it written down. You said storage.
Storage is what you do when you have a product that comes in and goes out. It doesn't sit there forever.
It sits there for a long period of time. How long does the material sit in the place?
It's not fulfillment, it is wholesale distribution, storage and distribution. How long is a product in your building?
A week?
That's not storage, Ken, that's distribution. And I feel like we probably need to pause what we're dealing with here, because I don't think that how this was presented to us, this was storage. I have it written down 5 times. Storage, 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 it's gonna remain as storage. That's not storage, that's distribution. It comes in, you repackage it, you send it out. That's distribution. I feel like we're changing the narrative as we move through the application. I mean, that's just my
Not our
perception.
intention.
What is your
Apologize for
perception,
the
guys?
message not being clear.
Yeah, I don't think it's your intention, but it's coming across that way to all of us, and our planner is making a valid point about it, because it does change a little bit as it's being presented, and it's kind of like, as Jennifer says, on the fly right now. So,
It might behoove everyone to take a step back, give them an opportunity to give us a very clear statement of operations. I don't necessarily think the board needs to understand the operations of the retail space or the car wash, but how this facility is being used and how you anticipate if there's growth involved, it be used in the future. I think that's very critical to the board acting on the application. So that's my recommendation, but it's their application, they can choose to handle it how they see fit. But that would be my recommendation, because I feel like we're kind of shooting from the hip, and I don't want to put you guys in that position.
I agree. So, Mr. Pate, what do you want to do? Do you want to take a break, and we can...
If the chair would so allow, yes,
Yeah.
I would like to take a break.
Okay, we'll take another 5-minute break, Eileen.
The board will now take a 5-minute break and reconvene at 8:17 p.m.
Eileen?
The meeting will now reconvene.
Mr. Chair, board members, with regard to the application of Messrs. Pecker and Braun, I'd ask if your attorney could confirm our notices and that they are proper and in order. And then I've conferred with our clients. You're a 6-member board this evening. We would prefer to approach the board when when there's a 7-member board, which is the applicant's prerogative. We would ask that, and I'm advised that you have December 16th wide open. I would ask that you put us on your December 16th agenda. And of course, we'll place on the record an extension of time to the extent the board requires it.
Okay, where are we with the extension of time again on that?
Right now, it expires December 31st, so you're okay for now.
Okay.
Any additional extensions requested by the board will be granted.
Okay, thank you. Okay, to put this on record, excuse me? Okay. Yes. What? I didn't hear that.
He said it's been going on for a long time, he wants to proceed. The applicant has requested to carry, so, yeah, no, we're going to carry.
No,
It's
up-
their application, so
It's
they
our
can decide.
application, so. Okay, so anybody here for case?
Mr.
but-
Chair,
Yeah,
first, if we could have Mr. Bayer confirm that the notices.
Yeah, the
were-
board has jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Mr. Payne.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, case number BA 22-11, Aaron Peker and Yohanda Braun. This application will be carried, and that was to December 16th with no further notice. And I guess, thank you.
Okay, I thank you. Thank you very much for your indulgence this evening. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. So I guess maybe some baseball for us tonight. Yeah, Eileen, when's the next meeting? Because we're skipping next week, right? Or,
It's October 28th.
Yeah.
Is the next meeting.
oh,
We have to wear costumes?
Yes. Thank you for wearing one tonight.
Look at this guy's like a comedian.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn.